We're not big fans of groove because of its limitations as a genre and as a provider of dynamics. However, like everything in life, there are exceptions. Exceptions in bands like Gojira. And speaking of Gojira, this peculiar band comes to us from Walmapu, the ancestral territory of South America's Mapuche nation. They sing Mapuzungun, and their sound is exotic enough to hold our attention beyond groove. Hypnotic, mysterious, and almost always suffocating and claustrophobic. This is a whole new world to discover. Speaking of Gojira, the latest song Tiinan Pa Pokin features Joe Duplantier. It seems like only yesterday that Warkings burst onto the scene with their captivating power metal and super interesting concept. Because these days, it's not enough just to have good music to show for it, but to go a little further. Sabaton continues to be an obvious reference, and now we have full-time vocalist Morgana Le Fay, who also brings a whiff of Battle Beast. Their power metal is accessible, but that doesn't stop it from being good. And it is. Very good indeed. What a breath of fresh air this project is, bringing together Norwegian vocalist Trude Eiddag and German composer and keyboardist Andreas Hack in a style that mixes indie music and even trip-hop at times with a folk aroma, thanks to Eidtang's hypnotic voice, and 70s progressive music with all the exuberance of synthesizers. The result isn't exactly friendly to fans of metal and heaviness, but for those who like to be surprised by other genres, this is highly recommended. Temptress are from Italy, and they come to the service with a debut album that focuses on heavy metal. It may seem like swimming against the current to most heavy music lovers, but it's a good thing that we're still getting fresh blood from the style. A classic feel that draws on both the 70s and the 80s, with that wonderful reverb on the vocals. It could have a more up-to-date sound, contemporary production values, and a look more in keeping with the times we live in, but if that were the case, it certainly wouldn't be as special as it is. A great debut. It's been 8 years since Impureza's last album, too long to be without their dynamic blend of death metal, Flemish, and the conceptual imagery of Andalusian Franco-Spanish culture. We're fans of anything that mixes heavy music with world music, and in this case, Flemish. The dynamics are fantastic, and more than the gimmick of making this mix, it makes sense in the context of the concept and in view of the result obtained. Pure musical delirium. An excellent surprise, these Verdalack. A debut that comes to us from Tokyo, from the ashes of the thrash metal band Assault Attack, which ceased activities in 2018. In 2022, they returned with a new name and a new direction, which hit us like a hurricane of fresh air. Old school production, old school sound, old school speed metal. The vocals are as dynamic, or a bit more so, as Lemmy from Motorhead. But like him, it doesn't matter, because overall, it's this sound that makes you want to shake your head with your horns held high. A great addiction. From Chile to the world of heavy metal, Ironspell. The Chilean band returns with their second album of originals 9 years after their debut and comes back with a great set of heavy metal songs. The fact that they're signed to Dying Victims production is a guarantee of quality, and fans of the style won't be disappointed. And although it's raucous, traditional heavy metal, here and there we also get a whiff of hard rock in bands like Scorpion in some of the vocal melodies. The Chilean scene is proving to be one of the strongest in the world, and Ironspell are carrying the heavy metal flag high. Thrash. The Americans' Bloodletter proved that thrash metal is not confined to the old glories of the 80s, and that the US is not just presenting slick metalcore laced with hip-hop to captivate today's youth. There is still hope for the United States, at least that's what Leave the Light conveys, with cutting riffs as well as his voice, in a very up-tempo register that doesn't give your neck a second's rest. There is hope for the future after all. With their 6th album, Grecian shouldn't come as a surprise to progressive rock fans, but we're betting that many will be as pleasantly surprised as we were by Then the Darkness. A touching melancholy with a sense of melody where the guitar and cello marry perfectly, in a musical symbiosis that won us over immediately. Forever Teeth and, above all, Massa, which last 12 and 20 minutes respectively, are the centerpieces of this album that has an impressive dynamic. Highly recommended. We miss Death immensely. And apart from the great music they made, which they left as a legacy, another reason is the feeling that the band still had a lot to give. And given their approach to traditional metal on the last releases, we can always dream of what could be. And what does that have to do with Atomic Witch? Nothing. Except that we simply recognize that same potential. Technical potential, the potential to write great songs and play like never before. Technical death metal fused with speed metal is something that probably nobody would think of doing, and it's probably not the way Atomic Witch defined their sound either, but that's what it conveys to us. An old-fashioned album, 8 songs, 4 for each side, and it's over in less than half an hour. No fillers and essential from start to finish. Isn't that what we've always been looking for?